Today is Tuesday, November 7th, 2017. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Casabon? Here. Mr. Lauren? Here. Mr. Richardson? Here. Mr. Richard? Here. Mr. Willie? Here. Mr. Manella?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Fitzmaurice? Mr. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Drum?
Here.
Mr. Randolph?
Here.
We do have a quorum. This time, we would respectfully ask that you silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any recommendation of this commission, appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak in front of the commission, we respectfully ask that you fill out a speaker's card so we have your name and address for our records. Each side will be provided 10 minutes with 5 minutes of rebuttal. Lastly, at the end of each case, if you wish to discuss it further with any of your colleagues, we would ask that you exit the building, as if you go back into the foyer area, it does echo into the chamber. This time, we would ask you to rise with an invocation by Commissioner Randolph, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Willie.
Gracious Father, once again we come to you to say thank you for all the blessings you bestowed on our lives from times past to now. We thank you for the presence of each and every one of us, each commissioner. Bless us to this night, Lord, as we take care of your business. Bless our government that we represent and all those that's in the audience and those that's out, Lord, that we represent and serve every day. Lord, a special blessing upon all of our family and neighbors over in Sutherland, Texas. Bless them and be with them, guide them, and Lord, continue to strengthen these United States of America. In all these blessings we ask in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In our packets are the minutes from our October 3rd, 2017 meeting. Please review them, and I will entertain any motions. Commissioner Richard?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve.
So moved. Commissioner Randolph?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further questions? We have a motion by Commissioner Richard, second by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Please vote.
All voted in favor of the motion. Motion approved.
Staff, are there any cases you wish postponed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Number 1 on the agenda. ZC 17-727 ZC. And the petitioner, Representative Mr. Paul Marone, is here to address the Zoning Commission.
Thank you. Before we proceed with that, this is a public hearing. The public is invited to speak on behalf or in opposition to any of the cases we are to hear. Zoning case 2017-727-ZC, existing zoning A3 suburban district and A4 single-family residential district. Proposed zoning A6 multiple family residential district. The parcel 17.69 acres. The petitioner, Joan Pareto Doolittle, Golden Properties, LLC. The Kayla Prieto Trust, Zahn Nichols Prieto, Clay Carl Prieto, Rosalind F. Prieto, the owner, Joan Prieto Doolittle, Golden Properties, LLC, the Cala Prieto Trust, Zahn Nichols Prieto, Clay Carl Prieto, and Rosalind F. Prieto. Representative Paul Marone. The parcel is located on the south side of Emerald Forest Boulevard, east of Falconer Drive, being Lot P2, Ward 3, District 5. This was postponed from the October 3rd, 2017 meeting. Staff recommends postponement. And Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Paul Marone on behalf of the Prieto family and the owners of the property. We would respectfully request that this matter be postponed once again. We've had some new developments since our last meeting here on this matter. The owners have been approached by a potential buyer who would like to acquire the property but has a different vision that would potentially take the property away from the apartment zoning that is now before you. Some of the representatives of the prospective buyer are here this evening. They are setting a meeting up for next week to meet with the surrounding residences, both on the south side, Crestwood, and in the Garden Walk subdivision, where they would like to sort of lay out their initial thoughts, get feedback, to see if this different vision is something that might be welcomed by the group. So we would ask that they have time to do that. And in doing so, we would request that the matter be tabled for 30 days or until your next meeting, at which time I'll be able to report back to you. We may move forward as we are. We may amend our request. We may withdraw our request. But we would like the opportunity for that meeting that I mentioned to take place before you take any action on the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Marone.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on behalf of a postponement? If you would, ma'am, if you would like to come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Brenda Alford. I represent the people of Crestwood subdivision. We're very happy to hear that there's another option on the table. So we're thankful, and we hope that you'll consider the big picture of things.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the postponement? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Ma'am in the back, where you wish to speak in favor of postponement?
Hi, y'all. I'm Cindy Ryer, and I'm so tickled pink about postponing this, I can't hardly stand it. I live in Crestwood Estates. I was a contractor in St. Tammany Parish for about 10 years, and this is best news I've heard all day. And I really think that the people of Crestwood won't object to the plans for this type of change in the zoning for what's going to happen. We were highly opposed to the multifamily apartments. And that's all I have to say tonight. So I'll save my speech for next time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else in favor of postponement? Anyone in opposition of postponement? Hearing none at this time, I would close it to the public and I would bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we postpone item number 1 for 30 days until our next scheduled meeting next month.
We have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Davis.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Davis. Any further comments? Seeing none, we have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Davis. Please vote.
All voted in favor of postponement. Motion approved.
Thank you. 2017-550-ZC, existing zoning, A1 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, A1A Suburban District and A2 Suburban District. The parcel, 3.865 acres. Let me give them a moment to clear the chamber. We shall proceed. Again, 2017-550-ZC, existing zoning, A1 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, A1A Suburban District and A2 Suburban District. The parcel, 3.865 acres. The petitioner, Leanne Jackson. The owner, Ruby Connerly and Bessie Williams Brown. The parcel is located on the east and west side of Louisiana Highway 450, south of East and West Ed Williams Road, north of South Road, Ward 2, District 3. Staff?
I'd like to invite you to take a look at the survey that is attached to the zoning change request. And it shows exactly what the owner and petitioner is here to accomplish today. As you can see, Lot 2 is currently divided physically by Highway 450. So basically, they're trying to take the portion of Lot 2 that is on the west side of Highway 450 and add it to Lot 3, and physically create a Lot 2A on the east side of Highway 450. However, the zoning change should be from A1 to A1 and A2. So by adding the Lot 2 to Lot 3, it would make it a 4.76 acre parcel, which should remain A1. And then on the east side, it would go to A2 Suburban to make it a lot of record that would meet the requirements.
Thank you. You are the petitioners? If you would state your name and address for the record.
Leanne Heiser Jackson, 404 Creekside Court, Covington, Louisiana, 70435.
Thank you. And the reason for your request?
We're just we're going to build our home there. We're from Folsom originally and just moving back. And just the part that hangs over the highway, just going to be our front yard.
Very good. Sir, do you wish to make further comments? Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. And you may sit down. Thank you. Pardon? Oh, for them? Okay. Commissioner Willie? If you'd come back up, Commissioner Willie. now has-
It might not be necessary. Staff may be able to answer. How large is that piece on the east side, Leanne?
On the east side,
Yeah.
it will become exactly 2.20 acre
Okay, I didn't
once.
have that.
And then on the west side, they're trying to add
Okay.
that portion to the 3 acres. So it just needs to be amended, so
Yeah.
Lot 3A will be all A1, and then Lot 2A would be A2.
Okay. Yeah, Leanne has family all through that area, and I move for approval
So approval of A1 for 3A
Right.
and A2 for 2A.
as requested.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Casabon.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Davis.
Ms. Jackson?
On Lot 2A with the 2.2 acres, you say you're going to build a homestead on there?
We're trying to make it one piece collectively, and we're going to build a home on which will be the 4.76.
So is there not going to be a single home in the Lot 2A and a single home in the Lot 3A?
Oh, no, there's just going to be one piece, one home.
At this time, basically, they're trying to remove Lot 2 is currently divided by Highway 450. So they're trying to make it official and add a portion of Lot 2 to Lot 3 and make the east side of Highway 450, it's a lot by itself. Now, it may be sold to someone else, or someone else may build a house, but the lot is just divided by Highway 450.
Yeah, I understand that, but it was saying is now that once it's Lot 2A, you can build 2 homes on it. If it's on
Well,
the
if it's rezoned to A2, yes, they could build 2 homes on
Is
it.
that your intention, to sell a lot?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay, thank you.
The portion on the other side of the street, we're not going to purchase that. We're just purchasing the piece that hangs over.
Oh, okay, so you don't own Lot 2A?
No, they're trying to purchase half of Lot
Okay.
2 to add it to Lot 3,
I
which will
understand.
become 3A.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Willie to approve, second by Commissioner Casabon. Please vote.
All voted in favor of motion. Motion approved.
2017-785-ZC, existing zoning A2 Suburban District and NC1 Professional Office District. Proposed zoning NC1 Professional Office District. The parcel 7.147 acres. The petitioner James Harold Russell and Pamela Durapal Russell. The owner James Harold Russell and Pamela Durapal Russell. The parcel is located on the northeast corner of U.S. Highway 190 and Anchorage Road, west of North Oaklawn Drive, south of Breck Road, Ward 7, District 7. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. Staff is not completely opposed to the zoning change to NC1. However, the request should be reduced in size considering the presence of existing residences directly abutting the site. And if you want to take a look at the aerial that is attached to your staff report, you can see that the site surrounds some existing residences. So as far as maybe developing the corner of Anchorage and 190 might be an option, but staff is not in favor of rezoning the entire parcel.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here?
Yes,
If you please come to the podium, state your name and address, sir.
Look, I can't hear good, so my name's Jim Russell, and I own 7.1 acres. We moved there before Katrina. We bought 7 acres to build us a house on, but my wife's a light sleeper, and the traffic was so heavy we just couldn't do it. So we just sat on it. We owned a quick stop there in Lacombe. Been in business there. Been in business in St. Tammany Parish for 47 years, and just people don't want to build there a house on that property because of the traffic on 190.
And you would like to have it rezoned for which purpose, sir? You want to rezone the NC1 to build something else or to sell it, or?
Tell me what to say. I can't.
He wants to know what you want it rezoned for.
Neighborhood commercial, I didn't, I got commercial, y'all just saw across the street, but I don't care about that, commercial. Neighborhood commercial will be fine for me.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Becky Jones.
You can pull that down, ma'am.
Becky Jones. I'm Mr. Russell's real estate agent, and it's my understanding that a part of this is already zoned commercial, but it's in the back half on the corner. And we've run into, I've had this property listed and trying to sell it for over 3 years. And I'm running into people not wanting to build residential home because of the traffic on the highway there. So that's what the purpose is, see what we can try to sell it and get it neighborhood commercial.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition?
My name is Robert D. Milliken, Jr., 28922 Berry Todd Road. I live around the corner from this property they're talking about. I'm not opposed to a commercial venture, but I don't want to see an apartment building being built. It's a small residence surrounding the entire area. There's actually over 30 homes that just was built 2-3 blocks away. All small homes, single family, very efficient homes. We like to keep it that way. We don't want to see a giant apartment complex being built in that area. Maybe a little small office building or a strip mall maybe even, or anything of the sort, but pretty sure none of us in that area want to see any type of complex or maybe even a car lot, like we need another car lot on 190. So that's all I have to say, really.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes?
Good evening. My name is Rob Logan. I've lived on Anchorage Road for 41 years. And when I bought that property in 1976, I made it a point to investigate what the zoning was at that time. I think that's due diligence for anyone buying a piece of property. Well, it turns out, you might look at this stack of paper, and I'm not going to read this, but this has been a contention for the last 41 years. Every few years, someone wants to change the zoning of that property. I bought it because it was zoned as a residential piece. And everyone says, well, it's on a highway, therefore it has to be commercial. I don't see that anywhere in the zoning regulations. Now, we have spent lots of time and lots of money trying to work with the parish over the years to come up with a solution. We just wanted to keep it as it was when we purchased that property. That property is really pristine. There's some really beautiful pine trees back there. And we don't want to see the nature of that road change. I'd like to see it maintained in that residential atmosphere. You know, I'm not against people trying to develop things, but you really have to be conscious of who lives around it. And I think it will be good for perhaps the petitioner, but not so good for the residents. We actually did a few years ago, talking about the traffic there. We had a state police survey going over 5 or 6 years. That is a high accident rate intersection. Seems strange, but actually it's because when you're coming from Lacombe going to Slidell, you'll run into a very steep decline and you cannot see the oncoming traffic off of Anchorage. So I would request that a better use of that would be something like a residential, so that there's less traffic trying to exit and use that intersection. There are a lot of other things, but I know you've got a big agenda tonight, so I won't drag it out. If anyone wants to look at some of the paperwork we've had over the years, excuse me, I'd be happy to share it with you, but it's too lengthy to go into. I'm not going to read this to you, and I know you're happy about that. So that's my point, and that's my request, is that it not be changed.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Diane Muntean. I also live on Anchorage Road, and I've lived there over 30 years. We've, as Rob Logan has said, we've been trying to keep that particular area residential, because that's part of the reasons why we all built in this area, was to make sure that it was residential and we wouldn't have to deal with the traffic or the trash or anything else on that particular corner. Now, Mr. Russell referenced that the property across the highway is commercial. Well, that was just changed to commercial a few years ago, and that was brand new. Now, when he bought the property, he knew it was on the highway and he knew it was residential. I just don't understand why, when people buy these properties and assume they can change it. He doesn't live on that street. I'm not sure where he lives, but that property has been residential since early in the 50s or 60s. So I'm not sure why our property values should decrease because he needs to sell his property. So I am against it.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Kevin Tranchina, 61107 Anchorage Road. I'm in opposition to this zoning change because of the drainage issues. Bringing a commercial property into this area, it will be a detriment. And also the traffic concerns on location with lighting and bringing in a commercial entity into a residential area is not a good idea. In opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Stephen Taylor, 29285 Berry Todd Road, just a very short distance directly behind this proposed change. My wife and I have just moved to the area with my retirement, and it is an area of mostly small, single-family homes, and it's our opinion that adding some large development surrounded essentially by all these small single-family homes would be a major detriment to the community. And so we are opposed to this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, yes, ma'am. Wait 1 second. It's part of the procedure. Seeing none at this time, in, you have 5 minutes of rebuttal. Yes, ma'am.
As I said earlier, Becky Jones, as I said earlier, I've had this property for sale for about 3 years, and we've been marketing it as residential. The piece across the street is commercial. The people that I've run into that have even shown interest in purchasing this property were people that were going to build a home and have a small business. One lady wanted on the commercial piece that's behind it, but they needed access. They wanted a sign on the front. For instance, the last call I had, they wanted to have a small dog kennel and build their home on it. We're not talking about people that are going to build high-rise apartment buildings or car washes and that sort of thing. So you have to think that progress has to be made sometime. Nothing stays the same forever. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Opposition, you also be provided 5 minutes of further rebuttals if you bring up any further information. Yes, sir.
Rob Logan, I spoke earlier.
If you would bring the microphone up, sir. Thank you.
Is it better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My concern is exactly what just happened. A petition to change the zoning for one purpose, and then all of a sudden the purpose changes. And that's what we're afraid of. That's why we want to keep it locked the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in opposition?
Good evening. I just want to speak on behalf of living on Anchorage Road for the last 30 years.
If you'd state your name and address, sir.
Charles Gorney, 61063 Anchorage Drive. Seems like this comes up every so many years. The last time we were up here was in 2009. And there was a little piece that was acquiesced to change it to the little commercial corner on one section of this property. Now they want to change the whole thing. Again, this is introducing spot zoning to a residential neighborhood. That's everything that borders this property is single-family residential, and we want to keep it that way. We want to keep our quality of life the way we've had it for the last 30 years, and some people living there longer. So definitely in opposition of it. The infrastructure is not there. You probably have heard this already, and we want to keep it A2 single-family residential. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Do I have to state my name again? Dave Milliken, Berry Todd Road. Last I checked, you can build a home and start a small business out of it. You can do that residentially. But commercial is a little different. Like you said before, you want to change it to commercial, and then the purpose changes. I don't want to see that happen either. That's what we're afraid of. You get it as commercial, and they say, oh, we want to start a little dog kennel, so to speak, and then next thing you know, 16 complexes go up. That's exactly what we don't want to see. You can have a small home and have your dog kennels behind it. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, again. Just as a reminder, it is 7 acres, so you do not have to build a house on the highway. You have turnoffs that are further back. You can fence it in. You don't have to have an office building there. It's a residential neighborhood across the street, across the highway, on each side of it. There's no reason to change it other than they need to sell it or they want to sell it. But again, I reiterate that the fact that they bought it knowing it was residential and have trying to change it to commercial is not, to me, appropriate. They don't live on that street. I don't know where they live, but we do, and we have to deal with it. And I find it very unfair to have to keep coming back here every so many years to try and keep this particular corner residential the way it was originally proposed.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none at this time, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, the representative for Mr. Russell. Please, would you please come up? When we rezoned this back in around 2011, at that time it was Councilman Hamway, I believe, at the time. In Lacombe, at the center of Lacombe, where there's Highway Commercial 2 and Highway Commercial 3, obviously in the area in which this gentleman already has a gas station and such, and across the way where there's the daiquiri shop and everything like that. When it extends out on the east and western sides of the Lacombe main city, we started reducing the actual commercialization, where we got down to NC1, okay? Looking at this piece of property, which is odd because of the L-shaped, I just don't see a reason to go ahead and change the zoning. I believe that the residential is appropriate for this area, and I'll make a motion to deny.
A motion by Commissioner Davis to deny, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? Again, this is a motion to deny, so an affirmative vote is a vote to deny. Please vote.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank y'all.
All voted in favor of motion, the motion approved.
We'll give everyone a few moments to leave the chamber. Someone would be so kind to close the back door. Thank you. 2017-788-ZC, existing zoning, MD1 Medical Residential District. Proposed zoning, MD2 Medical Clinic District. The parcel, 26.054 acres. The petitioner, ComCare Corporation, John Stassi, Jeffrey Shane. The owner, the Roman Catholic Church of the Archdiocese of New Orleans, Jeff Entwistle, Jeffrey Shane. The location, parcel is located on the southeast corner of Holy Trinity Drive and Dove Park Road, Ward 4, District 5. Staff?
The future land use plan calls for the area to be developed as a planned district with residential uses and conservation areas. The site is proposed to be developed with a skilled nursing facility. Staff has no objection to the request. Staff recommends that the request for MD2 be approved.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, Zoning Commission. My name is Jeff Shane. I'm with the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I actually represent both the landowner, the Archdiocese of New Orleans, as well as the prospective developer of this tract, ComCare Corporation. And we come to you this evening to seek a rezoning of Lot 3 of the A&O minor subdivision from MD1 to MD2. If I could, I'd like to start with a little history about the property that some of you may know and remember because you sat on this commission when this property has come to you in the past. Lot 3, as you can see on the attachment to your staff report, is a 26-plus acre parcel located in the northeastern portion of the development. It's on the east side of Holy Trinity and just south of Dove Park Road. Initially, this property was zoned MD1, and it was represented by me on behalf of the Archdiocese to be the likely Phase 2 of the St. Anthony Garden development, which is an assisted living facility located on the west side of Holy Trinity Drive on Lot 2. At the time we made the presentation, we believed that Phase 2 would consist really of two major components, one being a memory care facility and the other being approximately 20 to 25 independent villas or living units, a senior, if you will, single-family garden home type situation, which would be entry level for people that wanted to become a part of the St. Anthony Garden facility. As St. Anthony Garden has been open and operated, and I might add, with great success, they do not believe that their original plan for Phase 2 is as good as the proposition that ComCare Corporation brings to them. ComCare Corporation, and tonight I have their CEO, Mr. Jim Tucker, sitting with me, are actually doing a lot of business in St. Tammany Parish at present. They operate the Greenbrier and Guest House facilities located on Robert Road in Slidell, and I might add, operate them very successfully, meaning that they have good occupancy, fine facilities, etc. So they approached the Archdiocese about the possibility of developing a skilled nursing facility at this location. A skilled nursing facility was not part of the Phase 2, if you will, design of St. Anthony Garden. And St. Anthony Garden is an Archdiocese of New Orleans project. So this provides an opportunity to someone else in the business that has experience, has expertise, has capital to do a really good job and provide what they feel is a critical need of the residents of St. Tammany Parish, and that is a skilled nursing facility. So the reason for the zoning change from MD1 to MD2 is that although MD1 allows assisted living facility, MD1 also limits the number of beds if you were going to do a skilled nursing facility to 50. Now let's talk a little bit about the specifics of what ComCare Corporation would like to do at this site as it relates to this suggested skilled nursing facility. They have in mind 116 beds in the facility, all of which will be private. They plan to build a structure that will be approximately 75,000 square feet. The structure is not the typical, maybe rectangular type build that you would expect, but more so built in quadrants or sectors where there are opportunities for people to, I guess, develop, if you will, a communal feel within a particular sector of the facility. And they can congregate as a group, both as a small group, but also have an opportunity to be a part of the overall population. We have worked hard with staff before filing this application to make sure that our current conceptual plan would easily meet all of the MD2 requirements. Knowing that there are some residents in the area in the audience this evening, even though this is not a site plan or PUD review, I think it's important for me to tell you what our plan is, because hopefully these would answer some of the questions that you and the residents might have. I guess first and foremost, we have submitted a traffic memorandum which confirms that this alternate use, meaning a skilled nursing facility, will not present any more intense traffic needs than the proposed Phase 2 of St. Anthony Garden, which we represented years ago when we came to you. If anything, I think it's a considerable lesser use in terms of not only traffic, but probably intensity. It doesn't mean that the prior plan was a bad plan, but it consisted of what, in essence, would have been a small garden home type community with the typical amount of cars coming in and out, grandchildren bouncing basketballs, et cetera, et cetera. The things that all of us do in our communities. In this instance, those things are going to be eliminated, and the traffic study that we have done suggests that there is no adverse impact as it relates to the before and after. Again, that's not a requirement that's incumbent that we bring to you tonight, but we thought this would be important information. We have also done a preliminary drainage study and believe that all of our water should and will continue to go in a southwesterly direction, and that water will be captured in 2 detention ponds, one located on the south side of the facility, one located on the west side of the facility. But very importantly, all of the water from the 75,000 square foot facility will be captured on site and will not run across the rest of the 20 or so acres. It will all be piped from the small pond to the larger pond and ultimately to the ditch along Holy Trinity, alongside Holy Trinity. So again, although not a drainage review this evening, we wanted to be able to present to you and the residents that none of our water will go to the north or to the east or to the south and in any way impact the neighbors that surround us. Also very importantly, this project is designed to be single-story construction, probably not to exceed 30 feet. And I say probably because it's not inconceivable that a peak might be greater than 30 feet, but we understand your rules that the median of the roof cannot exceed 30 feet. And I tell you tonight that we have no intent to go beyond that. I know there had been concern that we might be building some form of a towering structure where there was 3, 4, or 5 stories, perhaps up to 50 feet, and that's simply not the case. And in that regard, we carefully decided, contrary to the prior plan that we presented years ago, none of this structure is on the northerly side of the lot. And in fact, there is one residence, the McDaniel residence, that is located northeast of this facility. Well, whereas before we would have been located to the west of his home, now we are clearly to the south of his property. And in fact, we are 50 feet from the property line to the closest curb of our parking lot and about 100 feet from his property line to the closest wall of any of our buildings. We did that for good reason. We wanted separation, but we also knew that this would be considerably different than what we had discussed in the past. and we didn't want any fear that there might be a towering structure that would in any way be of concern to any of the neighboring A2 properties. On the east side of our tract, likewise, we have at least 45 feet of clearance from the property line to the structure. This property will be serviced by central sewer and water, and at the end of the day, only a very small portion of the 26 acres will actually be in play. I would dare say that our 75,000 feet probably won't be on any more than 3, 4, maybe 5 acres max of the 26 acres. Again, we do that intentionally because we want our ponds to be amenities, we want our property to be amenities, and we're certainly going to observe the 75-foot no-cut buffer off of Dove Park Road, which was established when these properties were first zoned and developed many years ago. Mr. Chairman, I see my time is about to go away, but that's really all of the information I have to present to you initially. I would like to come back in rebuttal and respond to any questions you might have or those that are raised by the residents.
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, sir.
Good evening. My name is John Renier. I live at 528 Dove Park Road. My property is directly east of this proposed building, this change, and my concerns are drainage onto my property from the property proposal being developed. I know that they're probably going to clear cut the property. Afterwards, they're going to fill it. The gentleman that spoke before me said that the direction of flow of drainage was to the south and the west, when in fact it is the south to the east. And the wetlands depicted right south of this parcel of property actually drains to the east and across the back part of my property. I'm worried about the development of this property causing a flood situation on my property that I don't already have. I would like to know if this perimeter on the west side of my property, where it meets the east side of this property, will have a ditch, drainage ditches.
In all due respect, sir, your questions are very pertinent to planning. This is zoning. So while we value their questions, at this point in time, the questions you're asking would all be addressed under the planning process, which would come back to this commission as a planning commission. At this point, we're specifically addressing the zoning of the property. Your questions, again, are well-founded. However, this is not the forum for which the drainage would be addressed.
As far as
It's planning, but your questions about planning, traffic.
okay. As far as the planning goes, this structure is going to be, do you have any elevations of this structure? Elevation drawings? I thought I heard that it was going to be no taller than 30 feet.
Yeah, counsel for the petitioner has stated that,
and
yes.
40 feet off my property line. Can you tell me when or where this thing in question that I asked will be
planning?
addressed? Planning.
The planning, it'll be at a future time. Staff, do you have any idea when?
It will not be coming in front of the planning commission.
It'll be reviewed over a building permit.
Over building permits? Okay.
However, you know, the gentleman here is welcome to call our department, you know, regarding some of the questions that he's asking.
Okay, so your question, sir, would be addressed with staff?
Well, I would think that part of the zoning change would include planning or plans, rather than just an abstract, we're going to build this here, and not too much more.
Needless to say, when something is zoned, the owner at that point in time can build anything that is appropriate to the zoning.
Oh, in other words, so me being right next to that property, I wouldn't be able to question anything they built as long as they had the right to build it.
And again, those are questions you would ask the staff.
Yeah.
As they just said, the commission would not, at this point, address those questions. We were focusing on zoning.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One more question. Can I build anything I want?
No, you can, as long as it's consistent with the zoning of your property and going through the parish appropriate channels.
Well,
you
that's
would
the
have that.
situation, right next to mine.
In all due
It's been
respect, sir,
zoned
I am not
medical
here
too.
to debate you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Hi, I'm Kelly Krominski at 110 Brookstone Drive. I'm the president for Brookstone Property Owners Association. Our only concern is with the height, and I spoke with Mr. Shane before the meeting and stuff. If in fact it's a one-story unit, like he has indicated, I don't know that Brookstone would have such an issue with that, being that there's that three-story apartment building across the street staring us in our face right now. I think we would welcome the one-story. Just to clarify real quick what Mr. Shane said, originally all this parcel was A1, then it came before y'all to go to MD1. Now it's going to MD2 is what they're asking. Pardon me. There was in the original plans, and I have the site plan that they had given us when it came before you guys, there was a skilled nursing, one-story skilled nursing facility in addition to the independent villas. So just to clarify that, there was already the nursing, skilled nursing in this. But as far as what Mr. Shane said, if there's going to be all those setbacks, if there's going to be, single story, if they've done the traffic, the whole 9 yards, I don't know that Brookstone would have a problem with all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Terry Stevens, I live on Dove Park Road, and you all might remember me. I have objected to this project from the get-go, the problem being what we originally told was going to happen, in some cases did not happen. In some cases was changed. In some cases, for instance, the apartment buildings that were independent living, they literally changed the definition of assisted living to allow apartment living on that site. We also were under the original understanding that Lot 5 was not going to be developed. There are people here tonight who also came before you when Lot 5 did get developed into the now Brentwood subdivision. So I have an objection to this change because we were under the understanding when the original project was rezoned that this would remain MD1 residential, medical and residential, with the 50-bed component nursing, skilled nursing facility and residential, which abuts the lowest density or the almost lowest density A2 residential beside it. That's in keeping with the neighborhood. Now we're going commercial. It's not so much that it's commercial, except that we're not residential anymore, which opens the door to further commercial. And also, this property will be retained by the Archdiocese. It'll be leased by ComCare, which means no taxes will be derived or paid to the parish for this 75,000 square foot facility. So we went from small villas, residential setting, to now fully commercial, 75,000 square feet on this parcel that's adjacent to residential. And, I mean, where does it end? Just because they're suggesting that the rest of the 26 acres aren't going to be developed, that's not etched in stone. There are no guarantees. And as we saw with Brentwood, we don't have any insurance that that's not going to happen. They can mitigate those wetlands that are south of that property. So the residents, and I'll speak for several of them who are here tonight, and also many who are not here tonight, we're very concerned that you're eroding the process, as in people who spoke before me. The problem is once you open the door to rezonings such as this, and especially if you're going from residential to commercial, once the door is open, it doesn't get any better. It never backs off. It never slows down. Everything in there will be developed, even if we have been given assurances that it was not going to be. So I would urge you to retain the MD1, let them build what they can within that space, let them pay taxes if they want to make it commercial, if that's the way it's got to go. They should pay taxes like all the rest of us. But in the interim, please leave it as MD1, because that's what we all were under the understanding that you all were going to approve and that they were going to build, and they got permission to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. This time we'll get into rebuttal. Mr. Shane.
Thank you. I think firstly, I'd like to respond to Ms. Stevens' comments, most of which I really consider to be irrelevant to our discussion this evening. I don't say that with disrespect to her personally, but I'm not going to spend time talking about other projects. I do think what is relevant is that we came to you, and I tried to give you, in my view, a pretty open history of the zoning of this property and what was projected in the past and what's projected now. And we're not bashful or ashamed about that one bit. The purpose of this commission and this component of parish government is to respond to landowners, developers' wants, needs. It doesn't mean that we're entitled to it, but we have an opportunity to present a request to you. So in that regard, the fact that there is a change in the plan is not something that we hide from, but quite frankly, something that we embrace. With regard to Kelly's comments, I appreciate those, and again, I will affirm that this will be a one-story facility, not to exceed 30 feet, and I believe that the containment of the facility on approximately 5 of the 26 acres speaks volumes as it relates to our attempt to make this fit, if you will, in a way that not only will function well for this development, but will also be a compatible neighbor to the residential structures and certainly to the Dove Park Road corridor. Last but not least, and I did not get the gentleman's last name, but the first gentleman that spoke, I do certainly want to respond to his comments because he's a neighbor apparently to the east. And although this is not a drainage hearing, I do think I'm the one that brought drainage up because I knew it was likely to be a hot topic. It always is, but for good reason. Let me say very clearly that he knows the existing drainage pattern better than any of us because he lives there. So if he tells me the water currently comes east off this track to his property, I would say that this project brings good news to him because I am committing, and the drainage plan that we submit and the building permit that we procure will absolutely not allow any water to go to the east or to the north. Again, there is a pond on the south side of the facility, a larger pond to the west. All of the water will be contained on our site and will not sheet flow in any direction across the remainder of our lot or onto anyone else's property. It will be piped from the smaller pond to the larger and then to the ditch along Holy Trinity. And again, we recognize that we have to submit the sophisticated drainage plans that your ordinance requires for your engineering staff to review to make sure that not only our project works, but that we are not doing things that are unfair to our neighbors. Also, again, because he brought this point up, the 30 feet of height is an absolute max, and also we are 45 feet, not 40 feet, off of his back property line. So in terms of height and setback, the impact of our structure is probably less than a residential structure might be where two A2 properties would often abut. And we did that not to necessarily receive bouquets from anyone, but we have enough ground that we were able to position the facility at that location, but also try to continue to provide some privacy to our neighbors. We also have some wetlands concerns on our property that required us to position the structure where we positioned it. So that if one of the questions might be, well, why don't you put the structure in the southwest corner of the property? That's not reasonably doable because of wetlands. Or as one person asked me tonight before the meeting, why don't you put the ponds in the northeasterly portion of the property? It's because the topography would not allow the water to flow to the northeast. Not because we're disinterested in that idea. But I hope that my client is viewed by you and the public to having taken a good bit of time and tried to plan a lot of details that typically aren't in place by the time, or at the time a developer comes to the zoning commission. But I think you deserve good answers, and I think the residents deserve this good information as well. So with those things having been said, we urge you to recommend, as your staff has, to the council that the zoning of this property be changed from MD1 to MD2. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Opposition, you will also be provided 5 minutes of rebuttal.
I'll start and let anybody else finish who wants to, but in the original plan, unlike what Mr. Shane just told you, the original plan did not have the pond in the current location. If you're looking at a new plan, the pond that you're looking at on the plan you have now is where the skilled nursing building was. And we have already a copy of the topographical map and the conceptual plan, and the elevations are about the same. They're between 19 and 20 across that whole section of the lot. The wetlands, as you see, on the original plan, it was a 4-fingered wetland configuration, but the rest of it was infilled with the skilled nursing and the villas. Another concern, and Kelly didn't bring it up to any great degree, was what's going to happen on that corner piece of property. Where does that leave us? They obviously have a plan for that. I do this for a living. I'm an architect. I work with developers. I know that they have a plan for that corner lot, and I think it's incumbent for us to ask at this point in time what the plan might be for that, in addition to the remainder of the property. Mr. Shane said there is no intent for that to be developed, but we have no assurances that the corner will remain undeveloped and the remainder of the 26 acres will be undeveloped. So those are concerns also that I think we need to take into account when you rezone this very large 26-acre parcel of property. Thanks. But do pull up your old plan and compare it to the new plan, because some of what was stated tonight was simply not true, and I'm confused as to why Mr. Shane would call the skilled nursing the memory care, because it wasn't. That's what's over at the other building, and why he would say that this parcel where the pond is the pond because it's low, when it's not. They were going to develop it before. So the truth is important, and even though it sounds wonderful when you spin it a different way, it is what it is, and we had to live by this plan, and you all approved this plan, and now we've got a whole different plan. He's embracing that, and we're saying, this is not fair to us. This is not fair. This is not what we bought into. This is not what you bought into. And I think somebody along the way has got to hold someone accountable for the decisions that were made when this was originally approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak during rebuttal? Yes, sir.
John Renier again. I'm on the east side of this property that's being rezoned. The gentleman stated that the building will be 45 feet from the property line, meeting the back of the neighbor's property. That is not the back of my property. That is the side of my property. My home is from the outside wall to the property line, 80 feet from that property line. And also, I heard the description of how they were making it nice for the future inhabitants of these buildings, meeting places and all of that, having all kinds of concern for people that aren't there yet, while they have no concern for the people that have been there for the longest time. This building's not gonna do me any good 40 feet off the property line. And as far as the other people's suggestion to place the facility on the northwest end or on the northeast end, it wound up on the southeast end, right next to my property. My suggestion would be to send it down Holy Trinity Drive, close to the circle, so the archdiocese could see it from their church. Other than that, not much I can add to this. I can only look for further development of the situation. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. This time, we're going to close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Just so I can make sure I understand exactly. Most places like St. Anthony's or Christwood have independent living, assisted living, and then skilled nursing, kind of the trio. Will this, in fact, become the skilled nursing component of St. Anthony's now?
In a de facto sense, yes. It is not St. Anthony's Gardens, but it's obviously going to be developed by ComCare to provide.
Well, what I'm saying is St. Anthony's won't have a skilled nursing too. This will be the skilled nursing for that. And the other question would be, in your original plan, as you discussed for that property, for the cottages, dwellings, whatever you want to call them, the ones, as my understanding, that's over at Christwood now belong to Christwood. So the tax issue is moot.
Well, I mean, the Phase 2 plan that was presented did include these independent structures, cottages, we'll refer to them as. They were going to be owned by a 501c3. So from that perspective, same result. Of course, I know that you as a commission know that really the form of ownership and the taxation issue has nothing to do with land use. It doesn't mean that they're not worthy comments. I'm not suggesting it's out of order, but, and you know, to the extent that I may have suggested that the original Phase 2 plan included memory care, I didn't mean to suggest alone, and maybe I was mistaken, and I don't say that, I wasn't trying to do any sleight of hand. The Phase 2 plan is what it is, and it included skilled nursing as well. It was, I know that I made it clear that St. Anthony Garden intended to have a Phase 2 at that location that would have had that component. we've now found a more skilled, experienced, and successful partner, if you will, that will provide that component for the people, not just in St. Anthony Garden, but people in the community. So, and to the extent that maybe some of the drainage elements are in different places now than they were before, that's only because of our design and, quite frankly, trying to make improvements. So hopefully that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a question as much as I have some comments at this time. This is a zoning meeting. We've talked a lot about the project design issues, things that happened even, quite frankly, before I was maybe perhaps on this commission. But I look at purely as a zoning issue. When you look at MD1, which it is currently zoned MD1 and can be built on as it is now, the only real difference that I'm looking at between Medical District 1 and Medical District 2 has to do with the number of beds in a skilled nursing facility. Currently, they could put 50 beds. Their plan is for just over 100 beds. The height limitations, the setback issues are all the same. In no case is anything I've heard tonight going to violate any of our, I guess, restrictions that we have in place now. So in the purest sense, we're talking MD1 versus MD2. We're talking about 50 additional beds. This is a land use issue. This is not reviewing a project. I appreciate all the information that's been provided. I think it's fantastic that we'll get this in our community, but the concerns I'm hearing from the residents are more design related, not land use issues that related to the zoning commission. And so for that reason alone, and I'll obviously let my other fellow commissioners speak, but I'm going to move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Richard to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, Jeff? Just reviewing the permitted uses under MD1 and MD2, the maximum I see is 100 beds. So I know before you said something about 116. How does that come into play? You're the one that provided that information, so I was just wondering about that.
I don't believe that there is a limit in item 4 under section 5.2802. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So is this going to be considered a nursing home then?
Well,
see, this is where I'm going to be confusing. Is it a nursing home, a convalescent home, a clinic in MD1 where you go to MD2 and it talks about something else? That's all. Just clear that part for me.
I believe when we met with staff initially before filing this case, it was our understanding that if in fact we had a skilled nursing facility that exceeded 50 beds, that by default we had to seek MD2 zoning, and that it was their interpretation that MD2 allowed, in this case, 116 bed, because we were very specific, skilled nursing facility within MD2. Clearly would not fit within MD1.
Okay, I can understand. A question for staff.
And as you probably know, I mean, MD3 takes you in a different direction.
Correct.
It's not like going up another step in the ladder. So, but maybe staff wants to address it.
Yeah, just about the whole 116 instead of 100. That I'm kind of confused about that. How is that allowed in MD2 to have that many occupants?
Yes, I mean, a nursing home not to exceed 50 beds is listed as a permitted use under MD1, and then as you go to MD2 is nursing homes.
Okay.
So anything over 50 beds would have to go to MD2.
Okay, so it's over 50 then. Okay, thank you.
Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Richard to approve, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote.
All have voted in favor of the motion. Motion approved.
Thank you. Again, we'll give everyone a few moments to clear the chamber. 2017-789-ZC. Existing zoning, A3 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, HC1 Highway Commercial District. The parcel, .632 acres. Petitioner, SMB Construction LLC, Stephen Blanc. The owner, SMB Construction LLC, Stephen Blanc. The parcel is located on the north side of Louisiana Highway 22, east of Kathman Drive, being Lot 11B, Square 5, Live Oak Hills Subdivision, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. However, staff does not have any objection to the request considering the location of the site along Highway 22, which is developed with a mix of commercial and residential uses. Staff recommends the request for HC1 be approved.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Stephen Blanc, 111 Ruelle de Chien Drive, Madisonville, Louisiana, 70447.
And your reason for the request, sir?
Basically trying to move my home business out on the highway and get it out of my house, basically.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, sir, I have a question. Looking at the staff comments, it says that this piece of property is Lot 11B of the Live Oak Hill subdivision. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any restrictive covenants?
No, sir. I'm a builder in that neighborhood, and as far as I know, there's not any.
Well,
I've built several homes in that neighborhood. I mean, there's setback, certain setbacks that you have to follow, but other than that.
well, the reason I ask is that most of the subdivisions that we've been approving for the last several years are for single-family residents, and that's written into the protective covenants.
Yeah.
And I don't want us to do anything that's,
This is a very, very old subdivision.
okay.
I grew up here. I'm 47
Okay, so
myself,
you-
and it's been here as long as I've been here.
Just don't want you getting in trouble.
No, sir. I don't want to get in trouble.
Motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve. Commissioner Randolph? Second by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Richard?
Mr. Blanc, do you own, I'm sorry, right here, do you own Lot 11A as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and that, you're not going to actually bring commercial back to Mary Street?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
All voted in favor of the motion. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
2017-790-ZC, existing zoning, A4 Single Family Residential District. Proposed zoning, CB1 Community-Based Facilities District. The parcel, 21,025 square feet. The petitioner, Frank Haynes. The owner, Frank Haynes. The parcel is located in the northeast corner of Manzella Drive and Marlboro Drive, being lots 5 and 6, Square 4, Robert Park, Subdivision Annex Number 1, Ward 8, District 13. Staff?
The future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. There is an existing large residence with attached warehouse located on the site. Staff does not have any objection to the request, considering the purpose of CB1 is to provide for public and quasi-public uses in close proximity to residential districts such as recreational and religious uses. Staff recommends that CB1 be approved.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Please come to the podium, sir. State your name and address and the reason for the request.
Thank you, sir. My name is Frank Haynes. My address is 39299 Manzella Drive, Slidell, 70461. What else you need?
And the reason for the request.
To make this a multi-purpose facility. It's a big building and get some use out of it, basically, and it's in a lot of commercial area now.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, sir. Is there just a building on this, or is there any open lots for recreation? Well, and it's in the middle of the residential, you don't plan on putting up lights, do you? We've had this
Lights?
problem. Yes, like, is it big enough for a ball
No,
field?
only requirements, only what the zoning requirements
Well, that
recommend.
happened before too. But just remember that you're in a residential where lights are concerned. We've had some problems with areas and you know, if you plan on making it a ball field and that sort of thing, when I see recreation, is it big enough for that?
No, not for a ball
No.
field. It's
Okay.
21,000 square foot with a
Okay.
14,000 square foot building, so it wouldn't even, not even close to it. You know.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve. Commissioner Dougherty.
I'll second it, but I have a question for Mr. Haynes. Years ago, there was a skating rink in, I think it was this building. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I am looking at the correct building and everything.
Yeah,
And
yes, sir.
are you going to go back in with the skating rink or anything like that? Parking could
Not at
be a
this
problem.
time. I hadn't planned to. I mean, it'd probably be a pretty good idea, but it's not what I plan to do at this time. I hadn't really thought about that.
And your intent is,
Just a multi-purpose facility, whatever I could do, you know, whatever proposition comes up that I could use it for under this zoning.
okay, all right. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any further comments by the commission, questions? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote.
All voted in favor of motion, motion approved.
2017-796-ZC text amendment. Ordinance number 5849AA, ordinance adopting and enacting a new 2017 Code of Ordinances of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana, providing for the repeal of certain provisions not included therein, providing penalties for the violations thereof, providing for the manner of amending such code, and providing when such code of this ordinance shall become effective, specifically the reformatting of the zoning regulations to allow for online publishing via the Muni Code system. Staff? Council? All right, council.
Hello. This is the same thing y'all looked at the Planning Commission. It's simply the reformatting in order to convert it to the Muni Code system, which will be of great benefit to not only the commissioners, but the entire public. In that once it's done, they'll be able to go in and search it by keywords. And basically what we've done here is take the words where police juror, police jury, in other words, similar to that, identifying the governmental entity that it was addressing, and change those over to council, the councilmatic form of government. So that's what's before you. This will be on the agenda, the December agenda for the, I think we're gonna make December agenda for adoption by, in fact, the parish council. And it'll be effective as of January 1.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public who would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren. Motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve. Commissioner Casabon. Second by Commissioner Casabon. Any further comments? Seeing none, we have a motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve, second by Commissioner Casabon. Please vote.
All voted in favor of the motion. Motion approved.
Thank you. Is there any old business to come before the commission? Is there any new business to come before the commission? I will entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved.